Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, whether you're live here or you're going to be watching the recording. This is our first presentation of Grovepark View, and I plan to do this every quarter. And it's just with all our owners, right? The goal of this call really is I just want to update you on how the property is performing, what we're seeing from an ownership perspective, and then really what the future lies. More than anything, I want to say thank you. Thank you for joining us as part of the ownership group. I'm really excited. I want to say this, right? If you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask it. This is truly an opportunity for you as an owner to just come and ask us any questions. No question is dumb. We just want to kind of, my goal is to put this information out to you so that you know what's going on with your investment. So as you know, we closed March of 2025. And so and from March 5th to March 31st was first quarter, so it's less than a month. And this is so technically it's Q2 update, but it's really kind of from March up until end of June. And I'm really, really grateful that we own this together. The biggest highlight, even before I jump in, right, I want to kind of tell you the biggest highlight that happened this past quarter was a change in management. So when we bought this asset, when we took over in March, right, we were with Asset Living, and initially we had a small property management, small boutique. We liked it, like good enough size, but they got bought over by Asset Living. And so, because of that, we had to then use Asset Living. And they were just really big, which we thought was a good thing. They were managing over 100,000 properties, but it just realized shortly after the takeover happened, right? The takeover was fine, but then right after that, we just noticed some gaps and a lot of operational inefficiencies. And so one of the best things we did right away was to start looking for a new property management team. And we got lucky because we found Fortis. And Fortis management team is kind of exactly what we want. They're based in Atlanta, and they really cover the Southeast, which is where our heart is. And that's where we want to grow. But also the really amazing thing is that the COO of Fortis is also a Grovepark View investor. So our interests are aligned because she's not only managing it, but she's also part of the ownership group. So it's great. As soon as they came on, right, the on-site team loved them. They're working hard, and we just in 3 months, right, we've seen a lot of changes, positive changes that have happened on the property, and I'll share some of that with you. So let's talk a little bit kind of from a summary standpoint, right? So as of Q2, we maintained occupancy above 90%. Now, we really want to be at 95%. That's what we're pushing the team every week when we meet. Like our goal is how can we get to 95%? But we are above 90, which is really good. And as of today, right, we are pre-leased. We're 93% pre-leased, and that was mid-June. And so now we are at 93% occupied. Again, we're almost at that 95%, which is our goal. One of the things that we're also doing is expense control, and we are already saving money on expenses. So with Asset Living, right, because of how large they were, they had really high administrative costs. So almost like $500 to $600 per unit is just their admin costs. But that's because of like all the administrative things that they brought on. But we didn't even need all of those. So some of those expenses have been curbed because Fortis is a smaller company. A lot of those admin fees are going down. We're now paying like 200 and something. So we're saving money. And that's one way that we're decreasing expenses. But another way is that we are centralizing our maintenance team. As we continue to focus heavily in the Georgia area, and most of you will know we are on the path of closing the Rise. We're always thinking about purchasing in Georgia. And so we are centralizing our maintenance team. And what we're doing is that we are getting team members from our different assets, really, and making sure that they can work interchangeably. But that helps us because we don't have to hire out a lot of a lot of jobs, like a lot of construction jobs, a lot of stuff like fixing HVAC. We'd usually hire that out. But now as we're getting bigger, we're centralizing the team and knowing that they can go from asset to asset. It's been really amazing. But as we think about kind of what are all of these expenses doing, right? They're positively affecting our investment as we work on the business plan. So when you think about what we need to increase expenses, we need to increase income and decrease expenses. So that's kind of what we keep thinking when we're thinking about how we're going to start executing on our business plan. So I talked a little bit about occupancy, but physical occupancy is as of when this came out, because our quarters were from April to June, right? We were at 90%, but now we just hit 93%. Again, the goal is 95. That's our sweet spot because we know that we always account for some vacancy, but 95% is really where we want to be. And we're getting closer and closer to that number. I will say this, financials came out last week, and I really encourage you to take a look at it, right? We put a lot of effort into it every month, and I want you to spend some time reading it. But inside of those, inside of the updates, right, are financials. Those financials have, the T12. So you're looking at like all the financials for the whole year. It also has the rent roll. So you're seeing like, who the tenants are. You're seeing all the financials in the property. Take a look at it, review it, kind of get a grasp of what's going on from a financial standpoint. And I don't expect you to understand everything, but if you have any questions, I'm a phone call, a text, a Zoom away, but that way that you get to really understand what is going on in the property. Okay, so I talked to you a little bit about NOI. And so the NOI has stayed consistent, and we're bringing in about 207,000 per month, which looks like about $2.5 million every year. And our goal is to continue to grow that net operating income. That is like our big focus. And I told you, when we think about the net operating income, we factor two things. So it's income and expenses. And again, the goal is to increase the expenses and decrease the income. So one of the things that we're doing, I told you we're saving from the expense standpoint, but we're also starting to implement our business plan. So when I talked to you, all the investors, I spoke to every single one of you. I told you about what our plan was in terms of going in and doing renovations. And for those of you who have seen the property, renovations have started. So the roofs have started being worked on. We are now starting to work on the dog park, the car wash, landscaping is about to start. And one of the things I shared with you guys during our raise for the deal, right? When we went to the property, the studios are very large studios. So one of our big business plans is to convert the studios into one bedroom. So we are doing one sample test that we're going to convert one studio into a one bedroom, and we'll see how that works. So we'll see what rents we can achieve with that. So that's just something to think about. All of this has just kicked off. So a lot of our renovations are in motion and a lot of our plans are going on. And again, today's presentation, I said, was short and sweet, but it's just I wanted to get you guys to really understand what's going on behind the property. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to toss it in the chat. Again, so kind of thinking about delinquency is big, but we have done a wonderful job. Again, it's to our on-site property management team and our property management team, Fortis, right? It's our group on site and Fortis. They've really done a great job in really curbing delinquency. Our 60-day delinquency has been under $5,000, which is wonderful because as we are working on bringing in new tenants, bringing in new rents, increasing occupancy, we want to make sure that we're closing the back door. So we are not losing, tenants aren't leaving and then they're not delinquent, because then it doesn't make sense if we're trying to bring in and we still have a lot of delinquent tenants. In this area, a lot of other properties, they have significantly higher delinquencies, but our goal is really working hard to make sure that we decrease that. So our on-site team is very communicative with residents. If something is going on, the tenants are, they're very quick to reach out to our on-site team, and especially anyone who's delinquent, right? We still have some delinquency, making sure that we work with them to make sure that we try to get their funds in or figure out exactly what's going on, whatever assistance we can give. But knowing that our goal is to continue to curb that delinquency down. again, I talked about, kind of the biggest thing that we did this past quarter, was that we are really excited about our partnership with Fortis. It's been wonderful. And the way we're kind of thinking about it is that even though they are a third-party property management team, right, we're almost building an internal team with them because we are able to tell them our needs. We're able to tell them like the exact people that we need in order to grow as from a property management standpoint, because as they manage a property well, like our investors are benefiting from it because we're growing. So that's how we think about it. And the on-site team absolutely loves them. We have our regional property manager who moved to the Atlanta area to be able to manage the properties closer. So that's some of the things that we have in place as we continue to acquire more assets in that area. We're able to kind of get them to listen to us and work with them very closely on how our needs are being met. So this slide is exciting, and we released first distributions on Thursday. Now that means that the email went out, but it's going to take about 3 to 5 business days before it will get to you, but it will get to you. And I think everyone should have gotten emails from Cash Flow Portal. The first distributions are sometimes the hardest because like people's information are wrong. Some information is missing. Some people did individual accounts when they were supposed to do IRA, just a bunch of stuff, right? So we're working really hard with Cash Flow Portal as well as Advanta to make sure that all the funds are accurate, that they're dispersed. So you will be getting them. The distributions are matching our year one projections, and they are lower than like our preferred return, but don't worry about that, right? As I told you, we will catch up. But the reason why is because with year one, as we acquire, right, our big focus is renovations. Our big focus is our value add plan. And so that will, that's going to affect the cash flow, but it will improve over time. But regardless, right, we will always catch up. So those funds will always come back to you. And even at time of sale, before we get appreciation, you get paid out that preferred return. So that's your cash flow. Those are your distributions that are coming to you. But if you're thinking about if you got multiple emails, if you got multiple checks, this is kind of how it was broken down. So remember I told you we closed March 5th. So from March 5th to the 31st was Q1. So if you invested, because we left the investment longer for additional investors to come in after we closed. But if you closed with us March 5th, then you got a distribution from March 5th to March 31st, which was the end of Q1. And then Q2 was April to June, which you should have gotten another distribution. So you should have gotten multiple emails from Cashflow Portal, just helping you understand. And then there's a certain group of people that invested with us very earlier on. And I want to say thank you to all of you who stuck with us. We were supposed to close this deal in 90 days, and it took us almost 8 months. And so we're grateful that you stuck with us and that you're still sticking with us. But there's a small group of people that invested very early on, and those people got an additional 25% bonus distribution. And so that you also got this time around, you also got a third check for that. And so that's what kind of those look like if you're getting all of that. And then it just continues from there. So the plan is every quarter we'll get distributions, and every quarter we'll have these updates to just kind of talk you through what we're doing, where we are, where we're going. And that, I believe, is all I have for you. So that's, I just kind of wanted to run through where we are, like I said, Q1, Q2, and know that we'll be doing this quarterly as big updates happen. I'll be sharing with you via email, but I still think that the purpose of this is for us to just come together and to be able to ask questions. This is only for you guys, Grovepark View investors. So it's a time for you to come ask questions. And, as always, feel free to ask whatever you want. It's a safe space, but I just want to say again, thank you for your time. Thank you for spending the evening with me. And I'd love to kind of just toss out questions. So if anybody has questions, if you're not clear about maybe your distributions or where we're heading, if you want to know a little bit more, please feel free to ask. And also, if you are in the area, I know Dr. Chinyere was in the area recently, and she stopped by and toured and toured the property, and she's from the Northeast. So if you are ever available and you want to stop by, or you're in the area, a conference visiting, let me know. I'll set up a time for you to come visit the property, check it out, look at a couple units, get to know the staff. At the end of the day, right, it belongs to you. So as much as you want to be there, if you even want to check in on how renovations are going, just please feel free to let me know. But on that note, I'll stop talking and I will open it up for questions. And feel free to unmute yourself and ask questions if you have any.
Hi, that's okay. I just want to say thank you very much for the transparency and for going through the entire process. I just wanted to add a note that whenever you go with a smaller, like the management company that you're choosing, the smaller people, you're able to do more and get more from them because they would work with you. The larger companies are kind of set in their ways. They have lots of fees that you have to go with. So I really think kudos to the team. I think that was a good choice right there.
And I completely agree with you. They are very open to our suggestions, our ideas. They are so responsive. The difference has been very clear.
The one question I have is, as you're looking at converting the studios into one-bedroom apartments, does this require approval from the county or the city, or have you obtained that already?
So from kind of having conversations with our property management team, we are not going against any codes. So it's just part of renovation. All we're doing is because of the layout of the structure, right? It just involves a wall. So as long as there's a closet, right, in to be able to create a closet, which there already is, then we're able to transform it. So from conversations we've had with our property management, we don't need approval.
Okay, that's good. Just wanted to know. So some codes are very strict. All right.
Yay. I love the questions. Feel free to unmute yourself if you have any other questions, or if you came late and you want me to go through something else, please also feel free to ask. So I think Dr. Johnson just hopped on. But Dr. Johnson, this was kind of just going over financials, going over one of the biggest changes. I just went over an update for the last quarter. One of the biggest updates we had was we changed property management teams. And it's been a really wonderful change for us. We were with a really big group, and then we switched to a smaller group, kind of a boutique firm in the Atlanta area. And so we've seen significant improvement and also like decrease in expenses as well. And I kind of just went through the financials, big picture. Delinquency is low. We're at less than 5,000 in delinquency, which is wonderful. I also kind of just went through, I talked about expenses, some of the ways we're curbing expenses, and I also went over our plan to start renovations. So we're starting with roofs, car wash, dog park, and landscaping. Those are the big things that we're pushing. And then we're going to test a studio to one bedroom conversion. We're just going to do one right now and see like how the market feels about it, and then see how much we can push rent on that. And if it's successful, then we're going to do that. We plan to do that for all the studios that have not been renovated. We'll just convert, instead of renovating it, we'll just convert it to one bedrooms. So that's what we talked about. But if you have any, and also talked about distributions, I think I'm hoping that you've gotten your distribution. Everybody should have. I double checked it, but you get a 25% bonus for investing earlier on with us, and then you got a Q1 distribution and a Q2 distribution. I think that's pretty much all we went over. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself. And also the recording will be available shortly after this, and then perfect, great. Recording will be available. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. But my goal is for us to have this every quarter. So if you don't have any questions now, as the business plan kind of progresses and as we continue to manage it. If anything comes up, please feel free to reach out to me. We're always sending emails, and I know I've been in contact with everyone in the like last week. So, oh, there we go. Go ahead with your question.
Hi, Dr. Kim. It was nice going there to see the properties by myself. Very awesome. I was so excited. I toured around the whole complex, large, huge, beautiful homes, beautiful stuff. I was so excited. So I went in through, they took me on, rounds. So there is a lake behind our office. Can we get that lake?
So the lake does not belong to us. And the lake, so like it's a beautiful lake. So what we're gonna do, another thing I forgot to mention, is we are going to clear out that place. That's why landscaping is one of the things we're doing. But we actually also will charge a little bit more for that lakefront view because the lake is beautiful. So
Yes.
even if we don't own it, we're going to capitalize on it. So a lot of landscaping is going to be done to clear some of the brush behind. And then those people who actually are like closest to it, as new tenants come, we're going to be increasing rent.
That'd be wonderful. They told me somebody had a wedding there, Oh my goodness. Think about it when they have the lake view for their wedding. That would be awesome. That would
Yeah.
attract many people, especially the youths.
I
So
like it.
beautiful. Yes,
So if you
Doctor.
look at our update, the monthly update that went out last week, we captured the wedding there and we talked about it. And yes, so a couple got married on the property, which was really wonderful.
Absolutely. Well done. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. On that note, if there are no other questions, again, I want to say thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I will see you next quarter. Have a wonderful evening, everyone.